If you just clicked on this video, I'm willing to bet you've got a browser history that looks a little something like this. How to become a millionaire by next Tuesday. Fastest way to learn Spanish. Can you absorb information through osmosis while sleeping? And of course, motivational videos for people who would rather be watching cat compilations. Am I close? You, my friend, are what I like to call a lazy learner but ambitious dreamer. You've got champagne goals, but a tap-water work ethic. You want to conquer the world, but also the couch is really comfortable, and your bed has developed a gravitational pull stronger than a black hole. First off, welcome. You're in a safe space. There's no judgment here, mostly because I am the president, CEO, and a lifetime member of this club. Secondly, what if I told you that your laziness isn't a bug, it's a feature? What if I said that your inherent desire to do the least amount of work possible is actually a secret superpower? Intrigued? You should be, because in this video, I'm going to show you how to weaponize your laziness, how to hack your ambitious brain, and how to learn anything and everything you want without feeling like you're slogging through mud. But before we dive into these life-altering, procrastination-busting, ambition-fueling secrets, let's get the boring but necessary stuff out of the way. Disclaimer: I am not a psychologist, a neuroscientist, or a productivity guru who wakes up at 4 a.m. to drink kale smoothies and run a marathon before breakfast. I am just a fellow, lazy, ambitious person who has spent an embarrassing amount of time figuring out how to get the most bang for my brain buck. This is what has worked for me, and I have a sneaking suspicion it will work for you too. So, grab a snack, get comfortable, and prepare to have your mind blown in the most low-effort way possible, of course. The first thing we need to do is completely reframe how you think about learning. For years, we've been fed this lie that learning has to be hard, that it has to be this grueling, uphill battle against boredom and distraction. We picture ourselves chained to a desk, surrounded by a mountain of textbooks, mainlining coffee just to stay awake. But what if that's all wrong? What if the key to effective learning isn't more effort, but less? This brings us to our first and possibly most important concept: the 80-20 principle for lazy geniuses. The 80-20 principle, also known as the Pareto principle, is the idea that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. 1, 2, 3. Now, most people apply this to business or economics, but we're going to apply it to learning. Think about learning a new language. You could spend years trying to memorize every single word in the dictionary, or you could focus on the 100 or so most common words and be able to hold a conversation. 2. That's the 80-20 principle in action. So, before you even start learning something new, ask yourself, what is the 20% of this subject that will give me 80% of the knowledge? If you're learning to code, maybe it's understanding the fundamental syntax and a couple of key libraries, not memorizing every single function. If you're learning to play the guitar, it's mastering a few basic chords that will allow you to play thousands of songs. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to become a master of identifying that crucial 20%. How do you do this? Simple. Before you dive into a new topic, do a little reconnaissance. Watch a few introductory YouTube videos, read a couple of For Beginners articles, or even just look at the table of contents of a few books on the subject. 4. You'll start to see the same core concepts mentioned over and over again. Those are your 20%. Focus on them relentlessly. Everything else is just details you can pick up later. This approach is perfect for the lazy learner because it allows you to make massive progress with minimal effort. You're not wasting time on the fluff. You're going straight for the good stuff. It's like going to a buffet and only eating the dessert. Efficient, effective, and deeply satisfying. Now that you've identified your 20%, you're probably thinking, great, but I still have to actually do the learning. And that sounds suspiciously like work. And you're right. But this is where we introduce our second weapon in the lazy learner's arsenal: the art of productive procrastination. Procrastination is not your enemy. It's a natural human tendency, and fighting it head-on is a losing battle. So, instead of fighting it, we're going to trick it. Here's how it works. You're going to create a procrastination to-do list. This list will be filled with tasks that are still productive, but are less intimidating than your main learning goal. For example, if your main goal is to study for my history exam, your productive procrastination list might include things like organize my notes, watch a documentary on the historical period, or find a funny YouTube video that explains a key concept. These tasks are still related to your goal, but they feel less like work. So, when you feel the urge to procrastinate on the hard task of studying, you can turn to your productive procrastination list and still make progress. This is a game changer because it keeps you in the learning zone without feeling the resistance that comes with forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. You're essentially tricking your brain into learning by making it feel like you're avoiding work. Another way to leverage productive procrastination is to have multiple learning projects on the go. When you get bored or hit a wall with one, you can switch to another. This keeps your brain engaged and prevents burnout. It's like having multiple TV shows you're binging at once. When you get tired of one, you just switch to another. The key is to make your learning feel like a choice, not a chore. Okay, so we've got our 20%, and we're productively procrastinating our way to success. But what about when we actually have to sit down and focus? This is where the lazy learner's brain often short-circuits. We have the attention span of a gnat in a hurricane. This is where our third strategy comes in, the just 5 more minutes mind trick, aka the technique on steroids. The technique is a classic for a reason. You work in short, focused bursts, usually 25 minutes, followed by a short break. This is great for lazy learners because a 25-minute commitment feels much less daunting than I have to study for the next 3 hours. But we're going to take it a step further. We're going to start with an even smaller commitment, just 2 minutes. The 2-minute rule, popularized by James Clear, states that any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to start. So, instead of telling yourself you're going to study for 25 minutes, just tell yourself you're going to open the book and read 1 sentence, or you're going to watch just the first 2 minutes of that educational video. The goal is to make the barrier to entry so ridiculously low that you can't say no. What you'll often find is that once you start, it's much easier to keep going. That's Newton's first law of motion in action. An object in motion stays in motion. Getting started is the hardest part. Once you're over that initial hump, the momentum will carry you. And here's a little bonus hack to make this even more effective. Bribe yourself. Your brain loves rewards, so use that to your advantage. Tell yourself that after your 25-minute study session, you can watch an episode of your favorite show or scroll through social media for 10 minutes. This creates a positive feedback loop in your brain, making it more likely that you'll stick with your study habit in the future.